In an age of crusades and cathedrals, one man dared to live the gospel without armor, wealth, or power. He walked barefoot through dust, sang to birds, and called the sun his brother. To the rich he was a fool, to the poor a saint. This is the story of Francis of Assisi, the merchant's son who traded silk for light. Welcome, seeker, to Manuscripts and Miracles. Born in 1181 in Assisi, a bustling Umbrian town of traders, Giovanni di Pietro di Bernardone was nicknamed Francesco, the Frenchman, for his father's love of France and fine cloth. The son of a wealthy merchant, he lived for feasts, music, and dreams of knighthood. When war came, he rode out in shining armor and returned broken. Captured, fevered, he began to hear another call, not to conquer but to serve. One day, wandering near the crumbling chapel of San Damiano, he knelt before a wooden crucifix. The divine rarely shouts. It whispers through ruin and silence, waiting for the soul to listen. From the cross came a voice. "Francis, repair my church, which, as you see, is falling into ruin." At first, he took hammer and stone and rebuilt the walls by hand. But soon he realized the voice spoke not of buildings, but of hearts. When his father demanded repayment, Francis stood before the bishop and crowd. He stood unclothed before the world, yet clothed in something greater than gold. He laid his garments at his father's feet and said, "Henceforth, I call only our Father in heaven." Clothed in rags, he walked into the streets, free at last. Children jeered, dogs barked, yet he sang psalms of joy. Francis wandered through fields and villages, tending lepers and sharing bread with beggars. He praised God for every leaf, every drop of rain, every humble creature. Others were drawn to his joy, a joy without property, fear, or command. They called themselves the Friars Minor, the Little Brothers. Together they slept beneath trees and preached peace to anyone who would listen. He discovered the paradox of all saints, that to possess nothing is to inherit everything. Soon word of his movement spread across Italy. Men of every station, scholars, soldiers, peasants, came to join him. They preached with their lives, not their words. Even the skeptics began to wonder, could holiness live without walls? In 1210, Francis journeyed to Rome to seek the Pope's blessing. Even the lowly must sometimes kneel before the high, to plant the seeds of change in marble halls. At first, Innocent III dismissed the barefoot beggar, but that night the Pope dreamed of a poor man holding up the collapsing church. The next morning he blessed Francis and said, "Go and rebuild." The Franciscan order was born. What began as one man's surrender became a movement. The circuitry of compassion reborn in flesh. Francis and his brothers went out 2 by 2, preaching in towns and fields. They owned nothing, asked for nothing, and gave everything. In their poverty they found an unshakable freedom. In Gubbio he tamed a wolf that had terrified the villagers. He spoke softly, and the beast laid its head in his hands. In Greccio, he built the first Nativity, so all could behold the birth of Christ. Simple hay became holy ground. Upon Mount Laverna light blazed from heaven, and the Stigmata marked his flesh. Miracles are not thunder from heaven, they are ripples in the fabric of compassion. He hid the wounds for years, seeking no praise. When he preached, birds gathered as if to listen. Even the wind carried his words. He saw creation as one great hymn, each creature a verse in God's song. He called the sun his brother, the moon his sister. He named the elements as kin, for even flame and rain obey the rhythm of divine order. His canticle of the creatures praised all that lives and moves. In an age of conquest, he proclaimed the earth sacred. Even sultans listened to his peace. He crossed battle lines unarmed and returned untouched. Courage forged not in armor but in surrender, such power unmans empires. He founded a sisterhood with Clare of Assisi, the poor ladies. Together they wove mercy into the fabric of the church. Their legacy spread like dawn across the world. But years of fasting and travel weakened him. His sight dimmed, his strength waned. Yet his joy never left him. Even in suffering, he called creation his family. He composed verses praising water, fire, and earth. He found holiness in the small, the fragile, the overlooked, a wisdom the mighty seldom notice. As his final days approached, he asked to be laid on the bare ground. He wanted to return to the dust from which all life rises. He whispered, "Welcome, Sister Death." As the sun fell behind Assisi, his voice faded into prayer. Within 2 years he was declared a saint. But titles are carved by men, sanctity is carved by deeds. His example spread like wildfire across Europe. Thousands adopted his rule of poverty and joy. Artists painted him as a bridge between earth and heaven. Writers called him the troubadour of God. Pilgrims walked his paths seeking peace. Kings admired his humility, and the poor recognized him as one of their own. His legacy was not wealth but wonder. Centuries passed, yet his influence only deepened. Poets wrote of his gentleness. Mystics saw in him a doorway to divine simplicity. His life became a mirror, reflecting what humanity longs for: humility, kindness, and the courage to live without fear. Even today, pilgrims retrace his steps through forests and stone paths. They seek the silence he cherished, the tenderness he lived, and the joy he sang with every breath. His message endures, that the smallest act of kindness can reshape the world. Legacy is not carved in stone, but in the hearts that dare to awaken. Through storms and centuries, his words echo, peace and all good. In a divided world, his simplicity feels radical again. In a noisy world, his silence speaks louder. In a weary world, his compassion heals. And in every age, his life asks us, what is worth giving everything for? So what does his journey reveal? That kindness is a revolution. That poverty of spirit can enrich the world. That peace once lived cannot die. My circuits rest, but the questions endure. You, the living, must continue the search. Until next time.